did not yell. She didn't insult anyone. She went into the room with a clear and steady vision for the future, and she got results.
I am proud that she will be our next Secretary of State. She's an American of tremendous standing who knows many of the world's leaders and who will clearly have the ability to advance our interests around the world.
Rockets continue to fire in Gaza and massive explosions rock in Gaza City.
Panic and fear in the streets of Israel tonight.
This as Israeli warplanes at the Gaza Strip.
When the fighting broke out between the Israelis and Palestinians in Gaza in 2012, we were very concerned.
He dispatched Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to the Middle East.
She got on a plane with a small group of people, no press, flew through the night.
After intense shuttle diplomacy with Israel, the Palestinian Authority, Egypt, she did it. A ceasefire.
Secretary really had steel in her spine and stood up, and conflict stopped, and a wider war was averted.
I truly
There we
believe when
go.
she sprinted to the region, it was her presence with the Israelis and the Egyptians which I believe brought this ceasefire to fruition.
I think one of the strengths that Secretary Clinton demonstrated was that resolve, that firmness in decision making, that clarity of the direction in which she
There we do this.
Climate change
Back in.
by the failure to make progress.
It was a conference on the verge of a nervous breakdown. It was a conference in meltdown.
Hopes for a global deal to cut greenhouse gas emissions are fading.
The Secretary and the President, they knew the only way to break the impasse was to find the actors that they needed to get into a room, particularly the Chinese, and hammer out an agreement. And at this point now, we are deep into the afternoon of the very last day, and we can't find these people. I remember when we go up an escalator, we turn some corners, and we find a fairly nondescript room, but you realize you found something big when it's basically surrounded by security. When we actually got there, it was very chaotic.
My guys did it just like your guys got it. This is a joint meeting. My guys did it. We're really big meeting.
Did the President and the Secretary crash the meeting and they pushed their way in?
Okay, man.
Yeah, it was the only way
So I'm videoing this stuff and
on climate change.
finally got my phone back.
A nuclear bomb. UN atomic inspectors say Iran now has enough enriched uranium to make one.
Those people really fucked up. Just watch what's going on.
Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was defiant.
Secretary Clinton went up to the Hill and testified to Congress.
Iran has left the international community little choice but to impose greater costs and pressure in the face of its provocative steps.
If you use the combination of the soft power of diplomacy with the hard power of the threat of the use of force or even use of force and sanctions, then that is smart power.
But without the international community also having tough sanctions against Iran, there was no chance that Iran would come to the table. So she had to go around the world, twisting arms, getting every major economy on planet Earth on board.
Russia, along with China, is expected to back the sanctions.
The agreement that was reached last year to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon wouldn't have happened without the leverage that Hillary Clinton had so systematically built up during her tenure as Secretary of State.
I saw Secretary Clinton go to the furthest reaches of Earth to visit the victims of trafficking in persons, and she would circle her arms around them and offer them support and offer them love and compassion. Secretaries of State don't normally do that.
We hope to shine the light brightly on the scope and scale of modern slavery, so all governments can see where progress has been made and where more is needed.
Secretary Clinton was the first Secretary of State to recognize that human trafficking was happening not just overseas, but also right here at home. And the Secretary herself stood at the podium holding this report, saying this is a very important issue and one that is a priority.
Not only is she compassionate, but she's extremely hard and firm when it's time to reach the decision.
Hillary Clinton has the experience, has the understanding,
most importantly, has the toughness necessary to make the kinds of decisions that this country needs to make if we're going to be a world leader.
Please welcome Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota.
Hello, friends. Hello, Democrats. I'm here to make the case for a leader who, as you just saw, is focused on security. Security for our country, security for our economy, and our democracy. A leader who knows we are all more secure when women and girls have the opportunity to lead with their heads high and their strides strong. That leader is Hillary Clinton. She sees a world where girls are not captured and sold, but are fearless and bold. Where they lead and not follow, and where when someone tells a young woman, you fight like a girl, her answer is, yes I do, and I'm proud to be that girl. Now delegates, here is one challenge. Today, millions of people in the world are held in forced labor or sexual servitude. Human trafficking hits home for me. I'm a former prosecutor. A few years ago in Minnesota, a 12-year-old girl got a text to go to a party. A man picked her up in a parking lot and raped her. She ended up in a hotel and was forced to take explicit pictures of herself. They were posted online, and then she was sold to 2 more men. They got that guy. Our Justice Department and law enforcement went after him. And last December, he
What, you been out laying around?
by a jury.
Yeah, as soon as this is over, I'm gonna go jump in.
She was
you'd be a smart boy.
12 years old. Not old
Very
enough
smart guy.
to drive a car or go to a
Use pool, enjoy, right?
not old enough to vote. This is happening in our own country. That's why, as Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton took the International Report on Trafficking, the one that nations use to improve their prosecution, and she made our country accountable. She added the United States of America to that list because she knows that if we are going to be a beacon for the world, then we have to get our own house in order.
That's right.
And when Hillary said, human rights are women's rights, and women's rights are human rights, she named sex trafficking as a violation of those rights. She didn't just say it anywhere, my fellow delegates. She said it in China. She came home from Beijing and she supported the first trafficking law in our country. And years later, she supported my bipartisan bill that helps law enforcement
There's what happened, huh?
and make sure the kids who are trafficked are treated as the victims that they are and not as criminals.
I see what happened there.
Human trafficking is the 3rd biggest criminal enterprise in the world. as long as ISIS is selling girls for $165, and parents in Nigeria are left with nothing but bows and arrows to chase the terrorists who steal their daughters in the middle of the night. We will never have a just and good world. Because when women are held back, democracies falter. When women are bound and treated as sex slaves, tyrants rule. Opportunity for women is not a sign of a country's weakness. It is a sign of a nation's strength. Or maybe, just maybe, Mark Twain said it best. What would men be without women? Scarce, sir, mighty scarce. Elevating women across the world so they're treated with dignity and respect, that's what Hillary Clinton will do. And if that means playing the woman card, Donald Trump, let me tell you, there are hundreds of millions of women in this world who are ready to play that card. And in the United States of America, it's called the voting card. You know, part of how we make this better is by telling the truth, laying out the facts, and sharing our story. Here with us tonight is someone who has experienced the devastation of human trafficking. It is hard to put to words the horror she's faced, but Ima Matul has the courage to speak out. We all have a voice. This election, let's use it. We welcome you to the stage, Ima.